So I'm going to be totally honest. I'm really excited about doing this podcast. I want to tell you right off the bat. I know you're looking here and you're going, "Where's Jackie?" Jackie is on time to do a podcast with my really good friend Ed Begley Jr., who wrote an amazing book, and we have a history. We worked together on St. Elsewhere. But Ed, you came early. That's why we have nothing.
I'm fine. I like getting places early. If there's a couch or someplace I can just chill for a while. Is there a place I can hang out?
Are you gonna, like tomorrow? You're still gonna wear the same clothes?
I'll stay here. Do you have a shower?
I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna change.
If there's a place, if I'm in the way, you tell me. I'll go right back home. But at this point, it'd be better for me if I just stayed here.
All right. So I'll.
Because now I'm a day early. Yes, I understand that, but I don't want to be a day late.
Okay, so I'll see
Or a
you.
dollar short.
I'll see you tomorrow. Just relax. Can you hit the lights or anything? Hit the lights and relax.
Is this spoken for, this area, let's say?
Lie down. Have a good one.
Because you got me a nice little water here. I'm
See
fine.
you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow, Howie.
Just move. What? Oh, your ear. She's got her ear pierced, so she's in pain.
I think that's why I have a headache.
I bet you it is.
Did she just have it pierced?
Just had it.
Last night with my daughter, I went with my daughter to go
Look
get
at you,
her ears pierced.
mother-daughter bonding.
We used to do that together.
I used to get all my piercings when my girls got pierced.
That's very nice of you.
Did you ever get pierced?
I've had no piercings.
Okay.
Well, thanks for coming. So, you don't know this because you didn't see the opening of this podcast yet. But Ed's been here for 24 hours. Ed came yesterday.
I actually did know this.
Did you know this?
I know this because I left, I think, right before you got here. And I was called saying, "Can you come back?" And I was already home.
She was already home.
Yeah.
I'm so worried about the traffic on the 405 and the 101, so I like to
Really
get here
early.
real early.
Yeah.
A day early.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to reintroduce. This guy is probably, you know how that. What is that commercial that I don't know what they're advertising? The most interesting guy in the world.
Oh, Captain Morgan?
Is it
No.
Captain Morgan?
No.
Oh yeah, it's that
No.
guy with the
Dos
beard.
Equis.
Is it?
It's Dos
It's
Equis.
Stella the beer commercial, right?
Dos Equis.
Dos
It's not
Equis, that's
Dos
right.
Equis.
It's not.
Okay, he's looking for it to prove his
It might
point
be
now.
Dos Equis. It's out of Stella Artois.
Well, if you know, put it in the comments. It doesn't matter. The point is, we are about to interview the most, in my mind, the most interesting guy in the world. And one of the reasons he's one of the most...
It is Dos Equis.
It is Dos Equis.
You're right.
One of the
Kyle.
reasons is I'm going to grab that. Oh, we
What?
have it here. He's got a book. This is Ed Begley Jr., who is not only a good friend and not only a great actor and writer. I got to say that you are an amazing writer.
I love you,
Because you
Howie.
hold it. No, I'm not saying it to get the compliments, but you'd go, listen, there's a lot of young people that listen to podcasts that go, they don't even know who I am. Why would I read? This is, even if you don't know you, and I think everybody will know you from something because you've been on everything. This is probably one of the most interesting books I've ever read, in the sense that it's like, did you ever see Forrest Gump? Did you see that movie? Mm-hmm. I think you used this reference. He's like Forrest Gump. He has a hand in everything that his brush with everything amazing and tragic is so serendipitous and weird.
You also know everyone.
Well, that's
like
the
Forrest
point.
Gump, but not quite as smart as a character. That's the only difference.
No, you are, or Zelig, and I'll tell you, and we'll go into this. But everybody from mass murderers to huge musicians to superstars to music. I mean, and then you look, courtside at a Laker game, and there's Jack Nicholson and him sitting next to Jack Nicholson. Like your life. I didn't realize until I read the book, like how, I don't know that you know, well, maybe you do know, how amazing your life is and continues to be, and who you are, as she said, who you know and who you hobnob with?
When I put it down on, zeros and ones on my computer, started to enter this information just to help my daughter to keep records of stuff for my kids and grandkids. It wasn't meant to be a book, just like an archive for the family. But when I started to write it up, I was kind of amazed. I'll use the word that you just did, amazed at all the things that had happened to me. And I kept wondering, like the character Zelig or Forrest Gump, how did I get here, Or like Chauncey Gardner, you pick your character from a movie that wonders how the hell they got there, what are they doing there. That's me, but it's been an incredible ride. It's just
and it's still going. Listen, you're on, what's it called, Young Sheldon. I see you in movies all the time. I was seeing you in movies before I knew it was you. One of my favorite movies of all time is Spinal Tap.
One of my favorite of all time, too. I love that movie.
They were saying that in the back, too.
Yeah.
Look,
Well, look.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you remember he was a drummer that...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I died in a bizarre gardening accident, I think.
I also just watched a skit. Jeremy pulled up a skit that you were in about
The
Jeremy?
Cinco phone?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a Tim and Eric classic.
Yeah.
They're so great. Do you know Tim and Eric at all?
I do. Eric has been on the... Tim was on the podcast.
I expect so. He's so funny, the two of them. One time they did one whole episode, and they had drawn in with a pen or something, like a ventriloquist dummy hinge on their mouth, and said nothing about it. They didn't refer to it once. They just had it in the show.
Yeah.
One show only. It didn't pay off in the next episode. That, to me, is pure art.
I love that.
That's your kind of comedy, too.
My kind of comedy. But but Ed is not. Ed Begley Jr. I met personally when I was doing St. Elsewhere. He was doing St. Elsewhere. I was lucky enough to work with this young man for like 6 years. But I want to, because I think when I read the book, it was like, I have ADHD. It was a perfect book for that, because it's like, I'd read from this decade and then that decade and then that decade. He was a stand-up comic. Do you know that? Do you know that he was a stand-up comic?
I didn't know that.
Nothing
no.
like his level. I was kind of a B-flat prop comic.
No. And you know what's interesting? Like right now, I'm dropping in the Bus family, who is the owner, Johnny, who the owner of the Lakers. They just
Oh,
bought
yes, Jerry Buss, sure.
not Jerry, but
he's gone.
his son, yes, but bought the Ice House.
They bought the Ice House?
They bought the Ice House, and the Ice House is now refurbished. I was there last night. I was there. It was me, Bill Burr,
Oh, my God.
Sebastian Maniscalco,
Oh, boy.
Sarah Silverman. It's like a resurgence. I know you used to play at
Bob
the Ice
Stain
House.
gave me my first paid booking ever, was at the Ice House.
You used to do an act. He used to do an act where he was, and it's in the book, you used to dress up like a cop.
That was my opening bit. It was the 70s, so drug humor was very big. And I would have
And so was drug use. Right?
I'd have the exact, that's when I was doing all of that, so I thought it was amusing. And audiences at that point did too. I'd have the sound guy say, we're going to begin with the main act in a moment. We'll have Jennifer Warren will be out here to play. But first of all, we have a member of the LAPD who's going to be here to talk to you about some of the problems in the community. Here is Officer Ed Begley to talk to you about the drug problem we have in our community. People would be so pissed off. But the people who were booed the loudest would laugh the loudest, in 30, 50 seconds when it started to become absurd. And
you would come out. They didn't know. They didn't say it was a comic. And
No.
They assumed you were an officer.
Right. A few people got it and laughed early on. Then the audience as a whole finally got it. And it was a fun opening bit for the 70s.
And not only that, and you ended up getting arrested for impersonating a police officer. He would go. That was a troubadour where some of the biggest acts of who got discovered at the troubadour.
Bette Midler did one of her. She got discovered at the Baths, but she did her first LA show there. Elton John.
I saw
Elton
that.
John.
Yeah.
But you could go and sit this close to Joni Mitchell, Jackson Browne, the Eagles. Richard Pryor, Albert Brooks played there.
Yeah.
I was an opening act comic, but these were main. These were like you. They were the main event.
So you would wear your costume to go next door to the bar or whatever, and you got caught in the street. You got pulled over.
Yeah, the sheriff's department. It wasn't LAPD area, so they thought, "What are you doing in our district? Why are you in pursuit?" They said. And then I think they felt bad that they had been tricked. I wasn't trying to trick them. I was just going to go to the bar. But I should have taken off the shirt. It was all Velcro, so I could change quickly. And the shirt said, motor pool or whatever it said. And they said, "You're impersonating an officer." I said, "Go on the set of Adam 12 and arrest Kent McCord and Martin Milner. Leave me alone. I'm just an actor." and they put me in jail for the weekend.
Probably just because, like you said, they were upset that they got fooled. Like,
Yeah,
they shouldn't have
exactly.
been tricked.
So he was in jail.
Yeah.
He was in jail for a weekend.
But it's my bad. I should have just taken the damn shirt off. It was Velcro. I could have just ripped it off and it would have been fine.
But he was going to a bar, and the rule in the bar is no shirt, no shoes, no service. So
you
without
had
I
to
forgot
keep it
that.
on.
Thank you, Howie. You're right. That's why I knew there was a reason I left
the
it on.
drink
Thank you.
was more important.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it definitely was. Count on that.
You smoked pot with Charlie Manson.
This is a true story. My friend James Jeremiah, I'm still friends with to this day. We went to college together. He lived in Chatsworth. I lived in Northridge. And he said, I want to visit my friend Dave. He lives in this tree house now, and he's doing this incredible art. So we went to his place, and he did indeed live in a tree house next door to a saloon. And so we went and visited him up in the tree house. He did this
lived in a
beautiful
tree
art.
house?
He was on speed at some point. He did this crazy art. And we were out of dope, so he said, well, let's walk up to the main house and smoke a joint. I think they have some pot up there. We did. There was a bunch of hippies, nothing really noteworthy. One of them recognized my name, my father's name, said, oh, your dad's in the business, I know. Can you help me? He had some songs or something you want people to hear. But I didn't know a lot of music people then, so we left, went back to the car. I probably should have mentioned the treehouse was next door to not a real saloon, but a fake saloon at a movie set street called the Spahn Ranch. If that name rings a bell, well, you're too young for it to ring a bell, but it does with Howie. That was.
Do you know what the Spahn Ranch was?
No.
Do you know? Does anybody back there, Jeremy? What is the Spahn Ranch?
Yeah, it was Charles Manson's like headquarters, right?
Yeah, they squatted there, right? Didn't
They did.
live-
They squatted there. They kind of enticed and drugged the guy. I can't remember the name of the old guy that kind of ran the place. He was a caretaker for the Spahn Ranch, but they basically kept him a hostage. And a year later, then we discovered who we smoked a joint with because there are pictures from the paper. Wait a minute, that's the guy that had the music. That was Charlie. And there's Tex Watson, there's Linda, and there's, Kasabian.
Well, I know because I watched, what's the most recent movie that came out that was about that? Not Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, Hollywood.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job of capturing the essence. I don't know if they shot at the Spahn Ranch.
Which movie was that? Tarantino's movie?
Once
Yeah.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Is that what it was called? Yeah,
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And they showed the ranch, so I'm assuming it looked...
Knowing
Kinda
Quentin
similar?
Tarantino, they must have gotten
didn't
to
see
the
it.
real ranch or recreated it at that site.
Yeah.
But it's, it was definitely all those people. They were in the newspaper, and I had a pretty good memory at that point. When these are the same people. We definitely I called my friend James. Am I missing something? He said, no, this is the gang we smoked a joint with.
So from the time you smoked the joint, and did Charlie play his music for you?
He did not. If he did, I didn't. It was so unnoteworthy, I didn't remember it.
Or you were so high?
That's true, too. Howie, is it?
There's nothing that stood
Jackie,
out
I
about... There's nothing that stood out about that moment. Like, when you were there, you didn't feel creeped out or thought it was weird?
It was
or
creepy. It was very creepy. And I didn't know why. I thought it was just bad pot.
Yeah.
Really?
Years later, I smoked pot up at this house in Bel Air, and I thought, this place is creepy. It was a place where the Tate LaBianca, the Tate murders, Jay Sebring and Sharon Tate were murdered. Because finally, this guy said, well, yeah, I'm Rudy Altobelli, and we haven't met before. We're playing cards. I went, oh, my God, this is the house. I confirmed later with the address that was the house.
Wait, so you smoked pot with the
Charles
mastermind
Manson.
and the girl who was charged with the squeaky, and what's her name?
Squeaky Frome. I don't know if she was there at that point. I think she came in
Tex
later.
Watson was there, right?
I believe so. The guy I believe to be Tex Watson. When we saw the pictures a year later, it looked like all the same people.
So you not only smoked pot with the people planning to do the murders, you smoked pot at the place the murders took place.
I don't know. I didn't know. This was the 80s, so I wasn't smoking pot at that time, but I was playing poker in this house, and I discovered it was Rudy Altobelli's house, and I believe he was the owner of the house. He did not live there. He rented it out. He was the owner of the house where it occurred, I'm pretty sure.
I think.
Didn't you go back to that?
think Jeff Franklin, Bob Saget's memorial was at Jeff Franklin's house. And Jeff Franklin, who's the creator of Full House. Do you know
Right.
Jeff?
I've met him, I think, through Bob. I love Bob. What a great guy he was.
Yeah, we'll miss him. But he that's the house. He bought that. Where is that? That's up at the...
It's up Bel Air. If I saw the name of the street, I'd remember it.
He bought that house, and we were in the house.
You told me, yeah.
Yeah, and I went there with John Stamos, and John Stamos said that him and...
Who would buy that house?
Jeff Franklin.
Yeah.
Well, he knocked down the house, but it's got an amazing
It's
view.
good that they knocked it down. It had a weird vibe. Somebody look up, if you can, Rudy Altabelli. I don't know how you spell that. See if he was indeed the
Cielo
owner of the
Drive.
house.
Cielo Drive. Do you remember?
That's it.
That's it. It's definitely Cielo Drive.
That's
definitely.
it.
And I definitely played poker at a house on a very short street. It's not a long street at all, Cielo Drive. I played poker there. So I was
So
told
you
that
were in the actual house.
I was in the actual house.
Later on,
Before-
this is like
yeah.
very disconnected from the time you smoked pot with Charlie Manson and
Years
everyone.
later, from 69, I smoked pot with him in 68. It
You
all
get
came to
around.
light in August, I think, of 69. Yeah, I've been in some weird places. It's not me, is it? I'm not causing these things to happen, am I?
But a lot of weird places.
A lot of weird places. I used to charge my car at O.J. Simpson's house.
What?
Again,
Yes.
this is before he was murdering people, on Bundy.
You would charge your.
I was friends with him. I'd go to a party at his house. and
Well, let
invite-
me
Sorry.
preface this. No,
You go-
don't. You're going to tell this story, but I want to say that charging his car. This is way before Tesla. In
Yeah.
the 70s, this kid was riding a bike or changing cars that were diesel into electricity in the 70s before he was always and very concerned. So now it's going to make sense. So you have this electric car,
Right.
and tell the story.
This is, I think, now 92. I can't remember a year, something like 92. And I had been friends with O.J. Simpson a bit since 79. We were on a flight together. My first wife, Ingrid, who you remember, Ingrid and I were on a flight with him going to Albuquerque. He was doing a movie. I was doing a TV movie. And we socialized while there with Nicole, lovely lady. They seemed to be a very happy couple. And then years later, he got divorced. I never knew why at that point. And I was with him at the China Club in New York, commiserating about my marriage. My first marriage had ended and where I went wrong. He said, yeah, I really messed up with Nicole. I said, I know, I did too with Ingrid. He said, no, I really messed up with Nicole. Yeah, I heard you the first time. This is before she was murdered. But she was at this point putting Polaroids in a safe deposit box of her beaten up. And when the cops would come for the 8th time, they go, you've been here 7 times before this. When are you going to do something about it? It was a spousal abuse case of the worst sort. People who were close to him, like I wasn't that close to him, but I was friends with him. I had no idea. And then it happened. It was terrible. I knew what he meant then by I really messed up with Nicole. He had been doing it a while.
So you knew, like, off the bat when he was charged and everything, before even the court case and all the stuff came out, that you were pretty positive that he had.
I knew after about 24 to 48 hours. At first, I'm going, say it ain't so, because I didn't know about the safe deposit box and the Polaroids and the baseball bat where the cops came. I didn't know any of that. That came out very soon, and then I went, oh my God. And then very quickly you learn there's 38 pieces of physical evidence. 38. Most people are on death row for 1 drop of blood, 1 hair, 1 fiber. He had 38 different pieces of physical evidence. So it was like within 48 hours, oh shit, he killed her, and he killed poor Ron Goldman too.
Have you seen him since?
I'm sorry, Howie.
Have you seen him since? OJ.
No, I have not seen him since I was shooting at a golf course somewhere, and I learned he was on the link somewhere, and I just kind of stayed in my dressing room. I didn't want to run into him. I don't know what
You're
would I
good
say?
with the murderers prior to the actual crime, like
Exactly. Afterward,
Manson.
not so much
Yeah.
afterwards.
So if you sit and have you don't, you're sober, but if you have a drink with somebody or socialize with somebody, there's a good chance that it ends in.
They may be a murderer. What does that say
Within the
about
next
you?
year.
You've been friends with him for a long time, Dad. Is there going to be something that comes out?
I don't know. He's been around a lot of that mayhem. You know that?
Robert Blake was a good pal. We used to hang out.
You know, Ron?
I'm starting to think you're a little shady.
No.
I know.
Tell
I'm
that
sorry.
story.
Believe me, as I tell these stories, I think to myself, what am I doing to attract this kind of energy?
Talk about Robert Blake and your.
He and I were pals. We would hang out. But things started to get a little weird with him. I was getting divorced from Ingrid. And so I started just saying, oh, it's weird because she's going with a house painter now. Not that I don't deserve it. I was a bad husband. She's going with a house painter, and he bought a new keyboard and some speakers. And I wonder where that money's coming from. And saying all this bad stuff as a guy. Not that bad. I wasn't condoning anything bad at all. But I just, taking her inventory about things that I shouldn't be doing. It was her money, and we were married in California law, but I was pissing and moaning a little bit. He said, his face seems to change. He said, you know I'm Italian, right? I said, yeah. He said, that's not the way we do things in Little Italy or Italy itself. Here's what you do. And he had all this stuff about, what you would do to take care of somebody who's bothering you, a nuisance to you and going with your wife, even though, whatever. I won't go into the details, but it was pretty bad. He had some bad. Oh, and then
go into
Bad advice?
detail.
I will go into
He
detail.
told you, go into the detail that you did in the book.
Yeah, I was a very bad husband. Let me make that crystal clear. Now that
Okay.
we've established that,
That's clear.
yeah,
Not
And
as
then-
bad as OJ.
No, not as bad.
Okay.
Or Robert, wait.
Yeah, no physical violence. I never once hit Ingrid.
Do you know what Robert Blake did?
What?
Do you know?
No.
Oh.
He either murdered his wife or arranged for her to be murdered. In my opinion, the court found him not guilty for the criminal trial. In the civil case,
Put up the headline of Robert Blake. Apparently he was in this restaurant in the valley, Vitali's.
Vitello's is a restaurant.
Yes.
And what's so odd, he
And Robert Blake, for those that don't know, he was Beretta. And he was...
He played a cop called Beretta. And when Marlon Brando's son, Christian Brando, shot that kid dog Drew Lay up at Marlon's house, he said Marlon should...
Well, we'll get into that murder. You hung with them, too.
Yeah.
A lot of murders. A lot
How
of-
about?
Wait,
how
let him
about-
finish this story.
Okay, well,
How about...
okay,
Go ahead.
here.
Go ahead.
No, never mind.
How about what? What's
No,
your pick?
nothing. I want to hear about Robert Blake, and then I will ask.
Just click on that so that we can see that. Is it an article, a newspaper article?
No.
Robert Blake
How did he?
arrested for the murder of Bonnie Lee Blakely. There it is.
How did he murder her, or
that
how
was
was
a-
she murdered?
He probably shot her. He might have arranged
Here,
for someone
I
else
will
to
read.
shoot her.
I will
You
read
it.
this.
Yeah, read
and
it.
then you will equate this to the Ed Begley connection to this.
I will.
Okay. At 5:30 this afternoon, detectives with the Los Angeles Police Department and Robbery Homicide Division arrested actor Robert Blake for the murder of his wife, 44-year-old Bonnie Lee Blakely. On May 4th, 2001, Blakely was found.
Bakley.
What?
Bakley.
Oh, she's not going to correct me. She's dead. In the 11400 block of Woodbridge Street in North Hollywood, slumped in the front seat of her husband's car, Robert, his friend. She had been shot. Detectives will present the case against Blake to the Los Angeles County District Attorney. So she was in his car, dead. Ed?
I accept the decision of the jury that found him not guilty. They didn't have enough evidence to put him away. Physical evidence, they did not have it. So that's that. It's different than OJ in that major way. There was no 38. There was no 3 pieces of physical evidence to put him, tied him to the crime that way. But this I know. Not only did he go on about how he would take care of things if my wife was doing something I didn't like, he also said, do you talk to Marlon still? And I said, yeah, I do. He said, somebody should have talked to him about his kid. I told him for years if I had any trouble up there to call me because I know how you handle these things. You take the gun, you wrap it, you put it in like pasta sauce. You put that in your hand so there's no powder burns. You put the gun in a dumpster. He said that sentence. You put the gun in a dumpster. Then also, let me just give you the worst of all. He claimed he used to come to my house all the time, and he never took his jacket off, and I kept it ungodly hot to save energy. He always kept his jacket on. Why? Because he had his gun with him in his belt all the time. He always was armed. Every breakfast he came to my house for, whenever I saw him.
Pancakes.
But he supposedly was at Vitello's with Bonnie, and he left Vitello's and had to go back for his gun, which he didn't feel drop out of his belt, nor did he hear it on the brick floor. It's brick today as it was back in 1998.
2001.
Whenever it was, yeah. So 2001, was it?
That's what it said in the picture.
Yeah, that's what it is then. And he claimed he didn't see or feel the gun slip out of his belt, and he certainly didn't hear a metal gun hit the brick floor. It was all baloney, and then the gun was found in a dumpster, and he was found throwing up nearby, but he had nothing to do with it, supposedly.
Were you ever called as a...
No, I was not called as a witness. I was on a short list, I was told, to be called, but I was prepared to testify, and nobody called me.
I would think it would be somewhat damning to hear that he had said what he would do in detail to someone else before this happened.
Well, the reason that we know what was said to him is because he wrote a book now.
No,
I don't
know.
think nobody
But
knew.
if you were on a witness list, then people must have known that he said that to you.
I think the reason that it was not germane was that I didn't see him, point the gun at her or anything like that. He said what he would do. He said, I think it comes down to hearsay or something, because I heard him say things, but I didn't see him do things. And I think that would have made the difference. If I had seen him do something, putting a gun in a dumpster, that's much more meaningful to the case.
Also in Studio City at one time, this is all in the book, you thought that somebody had put a rat had died in the dumpster.
Yeah, in my trash can, actually. It was my physical trash can.
Yes.
I didn't know it at first. The woman from across the alley in Studio City, I know. She's never going to want to see me. She hasn't seen me for 35 years. She's not going to want to see me anymore. But trust me, I had nothing to do with any of this.
Wait.
But the neighbor lady across the way says, "Is your cat okay?" I said, "What do you mean is my cat okay? My cat's fine. I'm afraid it crawled under the house and died." "I don't think so. I saw it just earlier." "Oh, there it is. There's my cat. My cat's fine. There's my cat." "Okay, so I think a cat died under your..." "Oh, God, yeah, I can smell it, but it's not a cat," I said to her. I said, "It's a rat," because I'd just been at a friend's house and in the attic a rat had died, and I thought that was a smell unique to rats. It is not. It's a mammal, and they smell basically alike when they're decomposing. So and then I picked up the lid to the trash can because it seemed to be coming from my trash can. Whoa! Something, I said, somebody hit a dog or something, or maybe something bigger. It looked like, what is that? And I covered it up. Somebody must have hit a dog and put it in the dumpster because they didn't want to deal with the liability of killing someone's dog. So I went to the bank and said, "Call the animal control and I'll be back in a little while. They need to talk to me." I came back. It wasn't animal control. There's all these detectives and cops, and I can't get in my back gate with my bike, and I go through the front. There's a cop waiting for me. He says, "Mr. Begley, can you such and such, where do you live?" I said, "I live right here." "What's the problem?" I was trying to look over the fence. Stay with me. Do not go near the fence, Mr. Begley, please." "Okay, so what's this about?" And he said, "Have you seen anybody near your place dumping anything unusual?" I said, "No, what happened? Is there something in my dumpster? Did somebody hit an animal?" No, never mind. "Stay away from the fence, please." So of course now, hearing all this, I got to get up on the roof and see what's out there. Still, your mind doesn't work like that. You don't think, what am I, you think, is it a dog? What the hell is it? I went, what is that? Is that like a saddle? Or, oh my God, that's a torso. That's a head. That's two arms. That's two legs. I had it all laid out and they're taking pictures of this person who was cut up and left in my dumpster.
Did you find out who it was?
About 6 months to 9 months later, there was
Saw a picture in the paper and he went, "Oh yeah, that's somebody I had a drink with." No.
That poor woman I never met. It was a woman, a young woman.
15-year-old.
Sad to think about how that woman, what happened to her that took her from her mother's arms to that trash can there in Studio City. I don't want to think about it. I can't imagine.
That was in front of your house, though.
It was in my alley, right in the back of my alley. It was my. Oh no, two other body parts were in my friend James Jeremiah's alley. I'm sorry.
Your friend? It's just around you? It's just you and your friends?
Yeah, he lived down the block from me then. And
just you and your friends?
Me and James Jeremiah.
Yeah. How is this happening to you?
Well, nothing's really happening to me. It's kind of happening to these other poor
just
people.
all around you.
It seems to be around me. I know. I'd proceed with caution in any further bookings with me. I understand.
Why did you invite him here?
It's
scary.
And these are all real things that you can look up in the paper and you can find. And this is more than a biography. These are.
Let's just play a guessing game then.
Okay.
Like that's probably not in the book. What's that other murder that took place out on a boat where they killed actors?
Natalie Wood?
It was actors and is that who it was?
Natalie Wood?
Do you know them?
I do know them.
Yeah, of course. Let's just keep playing guessing games.
You think?
I think she might have just slipped and fell in the water is what I think. But I don't know.
There isn't anybody he doesn't know. We'll move off of murder into meals because we're in the M's.
Yes,
Murder to meals.
Murder to meals. You had Yoko Ono made you dinner.
Correct.
With John
Lennon.
at the Dakota in New York.
That's correct.
And then shortly after, he was murdered.
Oh my God!
It's not funny.
I never
Dad.
once
That's
thought
not
of
funny.
that.
What?
No, it was a while after that. I hope. Well, no, that was like 75. He got murdered in 80 or 81.
5
right?
years.
Okay.
It's not you. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I never even thought of that. Yikes. Maybe I should warehouse myself. I should put myself on an island somewhere so I don't harm anybody else by being around them. Yikes.
So talk about your dinner with.
It was amazing. All this happened. I met the Monty Python people, and now the couple I'm about to speak about, I met them through Harry Nilsson, the great singer and songwriter Harry Nilsson. He said one day, we're going for dinner, me and Una.
Harry Nilsson, just so that our viewers know. You guys know, right? You're musicians. Do you know Harry Nilsson? Do you know who he is?
I know the name. I saw a picture of him the other day.
No, wait. You don't know what's the most famous song? American.
Everybody's Talking at Me, and Midnight Cowboy, the last song in Midnight Cowboy, and a big hit was called Everybody's Talking About Me. He did not write that. Fred Neil, I believe, wrote it, but he sang it, and it was a huge hit. He wrote a lot of songs himself, too, though.
Yeah.
Put the Lime in the Coconut. He did
you know that one?
Living Without You, I think.
Yeah. So he was a pretty well-known guy. That was your friend.
Great friend, and he said, we're going to dinner with some friends. You want to join us? I said, sure. And he pulled up to the Dakota, and I go, no, it can't be. I know who some of his friends are that live at the Dakota. We go up the elevator, and then opening the door, they're just standing there, no help or anybody answering the door. It's John and Yoko opening the door. Hello, come on in. Hold on, have I met you? And I'm like,
is that Yoko?
That was John Lennon.
Oh, okay, all right. No, I never met Yoko, so I don't know what her voice is like.
Right.
I don't think she has the same accent.
She's not from Great Britain, you're
No.
right. So maybe I didn't do a very good accent, so it's probably me.
I just don't have a good ear for accents.
So we sat down for a while. Then at some point he goes, it's the deaf mute from Mary Hartman, Yoko, look, it's him. They were like fans of this show called Mary Hartman in the 70s.
You played a guy named Steve. You had a series with no lines. You were a deaf mute.
0 lines. It was my most successful job to that date. Just shut up and don't say anything ever again. We might give you a job.
So put up a clip of Mary Hartman. Put Steve from Mary Hartman, just to show you who this was. And that show was a Norman Lear show.
Correct.
He just passed away. So Norman Lear, who
my dear friend, I love that man.
That man was great right till the end. You know,
so
I
great.
saw him
Working,
last year.
busy, engaged. He and his wife Lynn did so many good things for the environment. Wonderful, wonderful people.
Not only for the environment, for just pop culture. You know, they brought up, but talked about racism and inclusiveness and everything. Right?
Everything.
He was so before his time.
Breakthrough
Do you have
shows.
Steve from Steve on Mary Hartman?
He gave me a job on Mary Hartman. Gave me a job on Maude, another show called You're at the Top with Paul Schaefer and other very good people. Mickey
Put
Rooney
Ed Begley, Mary Hartman, look for a video. You know.
It may not exist. It's such an obscure character. But he even gave me a job as a still photographer when the acting work had dried up for a while. Norman Lear instructed this woman, Barbara Brogliotti, that worked for him, to give me a job taking stills on the various shows. That's what a good man he is. I had a young family and wanted to help me out.
But you've done it all, like, but maybe there's not a clip of that character. Is there no clip of that character?
Probably not.
It's
It's
a
a
If there
very
is,
in
we'll
the
put it in.
thumbnail.
Steve, I was dating her sister, Deborah Lee Scott. What was her character's name? I can't remember. Deborah Lee Scott played her sister, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember.
I don't remember. But that was a funny show. I used to watch that.
Very funny show.
Mary Hartman, and then Fernwood Tonight was after
Yes.
that, right? Was a kind of a spin-off of it.
Yeah, with Martin Mull and Fred Willard. Funny stuff.
Yeah. So that's your first big break?
That was my first break where you start to get stopped in the airport and people go, wait a minute, I know you from that show.
John Lennon.
That's right. John Lennon recognized me from that show, and he was like a fanboy about it. What's Louise Lasser like? You know, tell me about the set. What's Mary Kay Place like?
You also, you just alluded to the fact that you hung out with, I loved, Monty Python kind of shaped my
Me too.
my love of comedy in as far as more than stand-up. Do you know who Monty Python
I
is?
do. You made me watch a lot of Monty Python.
Yeah, and now for something completely different, the television show. Who did you hang with? Who did you know?
I first met Eric Idle and then Graham Chapman the same moment, really, at the lobby of the Hotel the Navarro, which became the Ritz-Carlton on Central Park South. And then, I got to know John Cleese, and I don't know Michael Palin much. I've met him, but I don't know him. And what an incredible group of guys. What great stuff they did throughout the 70s and beyond. Spamalot has another life on Broadway now, I believe.
Yeah, it does, and that's
A
probably
wonderful
one of the
show.
most successful Broadway shows
Yeah, it's amazing.
in recent years. I know people that invested in that, and you very rarely make money investing in a Broadway show. So you met the Beatles. I saw you. I got invited one time to Ringo's birthday. He has an annual. Well, we all have an annual birthday, but he has a celebration because I'm somewhat friendly. You're more friendly with Joe Walsh.
I am. I'm friendly with Joe and Ringo and Barbara and Joe and Marjorie and great bunch of people. I feel lucky to be on that list to hear from them every year.
Oh, I've only heard from them once. Anyway, the thing is, he hears from them every year.
You're not as well liked.
No, he is loved by everyone. Everyone. It's amazing, the circle of friends. I got to tell you, we're almost the same age. You're a little bit older, but we're in the same generation. The amount of people that have you on their friend list, and you were there and are part of why we know them, like Rob Reiner and Christopher Guest. I went to Ed's 70th birthday party. You just stand in his house. Mm-hmm. And he's probably one of the most unassuming characters. And you look, and there's Annette Bening and Warren Beatty and Beatty and Christopher Guest and Jamie Lee Curtis and George Segal, and like just such a vast array of people. But
you and Terry, two people I love a lot.
Terry wasn't there.
She was not
she wasn't
there?
Invited?
No, she doesn't go to parties. She sent me.
I read an article that said that you would have an easier time doing, is it 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon or 7? Whatever it is,
Yeah.
doing it with you than with Kevin Bacon.
That's
because
very
you know
kind.
so many people and have worked with so many different people.
Like Spinal Tap. You were in Spinal Tap. How did that come about?
It came about because Michael McKean and Chris Guest and Harry Shearer and Rob were all good friends, and they needed a drummer to just be part of this thing that was, my understanding was it was going to be part of a fundraising effort, like a sizzle reel, to get the funding to do this movie, an improv movie called Spinal Tap. So I did it. And then its poor quality worked in its favor because it was supposed to be a kinescope-looking thing from their past. And so that little thing we did for the sizzle reel became part of the actual movie. And I'm the first drummer. I die in a bizarre gardening accident.
Can we show that clip? You have that clip from Spinal Tap where the drummer dies in a gardening accident?
It's called Show Me Some Money. Spinal Tap, Show Me Some Money is the name of the song. And that should come up with Spinal Tap, Ed Begley or Spinal. There it is.
There it is. That's great. Does that seem like yesterday to you?
It does. It's one of those funny contradictions. It's, life is a wave. I mean, light is a wave and it's a particle. How could they both be true? But it's a long time ago, but it's yesterday. It's funny.
Yeah. That's amazing. I remember I watched that movie long before I met you, but it's just to be sitting in the same room. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mine
it's like
too.
A classic.
Thank you, Howie.
It moved. What was your first foray into acting?
It was a show called My Three Sons. I'd been auditioning for years before that. Never got any work. Correctly so. I shouldn't have gotten any work. I took no training. Imagine the son of a plumber going, I'll take this one, Dad. Give me the address. I'll put the pipe on. You kind of heat up the copper pipe and put it together, right? I had no idea of what to do as an actor, and somehow I got these parts. I still don't know how I got the interview for the job, My Three Sons. My stepmother, my dad must have called somebody, because suddenly I go in an interview and I get a job and work for years with no real proper training. Then I began to train and got a little bit better.
What did you were years on My Three Sons?
No, I'm sorry. I was one episode of My Three Sons, but I worked for years on shows like Mannix and shows like Beretta, and I worked on shows like Adam 12, all these different shows I would get. Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law, different, the FBI.
Hey, listen, I got to work with you. I didn't have any training. I'm a stand-up comic.
But you took to it right away, Howie. You were so good right away. You were so real. You were so present. I've looked at some of those scenes we had when we were rooming together just to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
We were both so good. We were really good in that.
We were great.
We
We were
sure
great. We were great. If you don't know, I did a show called St. Elsewhere in the 80s. You could put up do you have a still of the cast of St. Elsewhere? And it was me and you and Denzel Washington and
David
just
Morse.
Just click on any one of those that has me and
Bill
the
Daniels,
picture.
Bonnie Bartlett, Ed Flanders, Norman Lloyd.
There, that one. Yeah, that's a good one. So that's me and you and Mark Harmon and Denzel Washington. And so many people did their first gig on that show.
Right, I think Ray Liotta is one of his early jobs.
Ray Liotta, Tim Robbins.
Exactly right. He was a mass killer with a bomb or something.
Yes, he was the bomber. It was his first job. I think Kathy Bates was there when she was really young.
I didn't know that.
You also said that in reading in the book, because I also know that you were part of a comedy duo.
I was with Michael Richards.
Michael Richards, famous Kramer.
Yeah, we went to Valley College together, so we had an act. We went and auditioned at the Troubadour and got Doug Weston to he didn't want to book us and pay us money, but he wanted to manage us. So we were pursued by one Doug Weston who ran the Troubadour to be managed, and we chose not to go with him. But Michael went in the Army, and I worked as a solo act for a while. Then he came back and became very successful pretty quick.
I used to see him at the Improv before he got Fridays.
Right.
He was the most bizarre. I loved his bizarre commitment. Have you talked to him lately?
I haven't talked. I called him up on his birthday. He's probably been out of town. I got to thank you for reminding me. I need to call him again and say hello. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'm a big fan.
Does he take your calls?
What's that?
Does he take your calls? He seems to become reclusive.
He's very reclusive. I haven't talked to him in about, oh, no, we texted about 6 months ago, now that I think about it.
But he has a book coming out, right?
He's got a book coming out in June or something. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, we heard that he has a book coming out, and we reached out to book him on here, like you, to promote his book. And
I'll leave him a message or something and try to call him and tell him to do it. He's going to have a ball. He'll love
Michael
it.
Richards.
Yep.
From Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Because we reached out and we got Michael Richards. We got the one from Jeopardy. You know, there's a guy named Michael Richards that was the executive producer of Jeopardy.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. But I wanted him to come on and talk about his relationship with Ed Begley and comedy and his little bit of being canceled. It was Michael. It was wrong.
You had the wrong Michael.
I did. Can you get me the right Michael?
I will call him and see if he's up
You
for
mentioned to me that he was a little upset with you mentioning him in the book, which kind of flabbergasted me because every mention in the book of him is incredibly flattering.
Very complimentary.
And complimentary. Why would he be even...
I'm suspecting that he's upset with the book because he hadn't called me back. Maybe it's about something else entirely. Yeah.
It couldn't be from the book because, I mean, you hold him on a comedic pedestal and just on a brilliant pedestal as an actor and as somebody who prepares.
So you must have done something else to piss him off.
Exactly.
Or maybe he just knows your track record and he doesn't want to be
He
involved
doesn't
in a
want to
murder.
be involved in any more murders. That's probably it.
Yeah.
Why did we? I can't think of these things. Howie, I need you to figure these things out for me.
I think that's what it is.
I think so.
I'm just people who know you get it really.
No, I don't want to be part of it either. The second-degree murder, manslaughter, I don't want to be part of it. I'm going to stay away from this Begley guy.
Yeah. I think that you do have a... You also were... because you're an environmentalist and people know you for that. Do you still sell the cleaning products? We used to buy the cleaning products.
I do.
At
We
Whole
sell them
Foods.
online and at Costco.
I bought them at Whole Foods all
Fantastic.
the time.
Thank you.
Are you still selling that stuff?
They're great.
Yeah, we're selling it mostly online and at Costco now.
We'll put a link to... You should get these. These are environmentally... friendly cleaning products. But
it's called something different. It's not Begley's Best anymore. It's called Begley's Earth Responsible Products.
Why did you change that?
Different company and everything.
Because the guy who was doing best that you worked with was murdered.
Is it the way it's
not.
produced is environmentally
But he
friendly,
is now
or it's
buried
also
and he's a
safe
mulch.
for? Is it
The
and
way
it's
it's
also
produced
safe?
and the ingredients are all environmentally sound.
You know, his house is totally... He built a house. I went to his house, a beautiful home, which you don't use. You're off the grid, aren't you?
No, I use a bit of power at night because I wouldn't use any, but I've got not only my
Are you
car.
getting emotional?
I think I am, or I'm allergic to all these murders. We talk about my house and the grid. I'm charging. It's a charging station for all of Studio City, basically. My wife charges there, of course. I charge there. My daughters, two daughters, Amanda and Hayden, both charge there. So that's my way of explaining. I use some power, some green power from the LADWP Green Power Program. I use power at night, too, sometimes. I don't get by on my solar.
But you have no carbon footprint now since 1985, you said?
Very good. You are correct. I bought a wind turbine back then. So that one purchase it was half of a wind turbine in the California desert. So I owned it for 30 years, and that made me carbon negative for the rest of my life for that one purchase.
You still have it?
No, I had to sell it for the best of all possible reasons. They wanted to put a bigger one up, and they needed the land. So I surrendered my rights to that platform in that area. You know, I had rights to stay there as long as I wanted, I think. But I wanted to make room for a bigger, more efficient turbine. So
that you don't own?
I do not own it, but I wanted the power up there, and I wanted that amount of, not mine, half of my wind turbine. The wind turbine that I had was a small one from the 80s, so it was 75 kilowatts. These nowadays are 2.5 megawatts or 2 or a mega and a half.
Now, I want to ask your
No
opinion
idea. That
because
means
you.
nothing.
It's a lot of power.
I get that.
Many homes worth of
I
power.
wanted to ask your opinion because you probably know more about this than the average person. I know California is making it so by the year 2028, is it 8?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fully electric. Do you think that that's actually possible to do that?
I think their target date is 2035. Though,
Is that
isn't
what it is now?
I think
Okay.
it is.
But aren't you
wrong then.
concerned about the lithium in the batteries?
Yeah, you got to be sensitive to where you're getting the lithium, but they just had a big find at the Salton Sea that they need to fix for other reasons. So wouldn't it be great if they could get that lithium from the Salton Sea, which they can? That's a project that's doable, and clean up the mess there. It's just the salt. Have you ever been to the Salton Sea near Palm Springs?
No.
It's an inland body of water that's totally created by a mishap of man's agricultural needs and a drainage ditch, basically. So it filled up with all this water, but it's gotten toxic from salts and selenium, so they need to do something about it. But in that same lake is a lot of lithium, so they can get it from there. They don't have to, further impoverish people in different parts of the world, different parts of the country.
He knows what he's doing, but you've also been really, it's fun to read. Marlon Brando loved you.
And I loved him.
Yeah, and Marlon Brando is one of the greatest actors of all time. But he loved you beyond show business, and he was always he was also a kind of a free thinker in the sense that he would hold patents to things and invent things. But he tried. Well, I was reading it, made me laugh out loud. He wanted you involved in a project where you would actually harness the electricity from electric eels in pools to power people's houses.
Yes, that was his idea.
Is that a doable idea? Aren't you hurting the eels?
You would if there was any reasonable way to harness them. I suppose they would get tied up in knots, all the wiring, but that's, of course, ludicrous, and you couldn't do that. But when I think I kept getting asked back because, number one, he didn't like sycophants. He didn't like people to go, oh, what a good idea, Marlon, let's do it. We'll have electric eels in every house. He didn't want to hear that exactly, but he wanted a little bit of pushback. But he didn't want what I offered, which is, this is a terrible idea. It can't work. I told him no right away.
But how did he think he was going to, like, an electric eel? Does an electric eel, how would you take, it would have to be living to be generating whatever electricity it has. How would you take, without harming the animal, is it an animal? Or is it a fish?
It's an animal, yeah. It's
A reptile? What is an eel?
It's a fish, I believe. An electric eel is a fish.
Is it?
Yeah.
How do
I
you
think
know?
it's considered
Kyle's
fish.
saying yes. But
It's not like a dolphin. A dolphin is a
Mammal.
Yeah. No, it's not a mammal. It's I believe it's considered a fish. But
No, dolphin is mammal.
Dolphin is definitely a mammal. I'm
Yeah.
talking about
They
the
rape.
back to the eels
We've
now,
talked
sorry.
about you know that people can get raped by dolphins.
I've heard this. They'll batter you up pretty bad, even if they don't want to do what you're suggesting. They'll just ram into you. They could kill a person. And if you're in with the wrong gender of dolphins, they had a place to dive at Epcot Center with the dolphins, not as an entertainment thing, but research. They had dolphins there, and they said, you can't go in that one with the females because they will beat the males. The males were the rowdy ones. They would bash into you, and they would probably kill you. They weren't trying to play. They were rough. But back to the electric eels.
Okay.
They are fish, by the way. We found out they're fish.
Eels are fish?
Eels are fish.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But the idea, I said, Marlon, how are you gonna harness the power? I said, harness being an appropriate term in this instance. You're gonna have a little cartoon seahorse, little saddle on an eel. And you're gonna have wires tied into knots right away in the first 10 minutes. Why is everything no with you? Everything, you're always so friggin' negative. For God's sake. You take an anode and a cathode, put it in a pool of water, you can have all the electricity. I said, you're not going to have enough power to light a hobbyist light bulb at a science fair. You're going to put an anode and a cathode in the water. Do you know how much voltage they put out? 200 volts, but only for a half of a second, Marlon. Where are you going to get usable power? No. That's all I hear from you is negativity.
Don't they constantly have to be under stress in order for them to be putting out?
They have to be threatened, yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't, if they zapped you and then zapped me 5 minutes later, I don't think they'd have anything left. They'd be out of power.
What?
They're not the Energizer Bunny. They're not
I have
the Energizer.
another question.
Yes.
Why haven't they figured out how to make solar roofs for cars instead of electric cars to power cars?
They could do
with
that, and
solar?
I've been in vehicles that did do that. There's been a few cars that had electric panels, solar panels on the roof. It can only charge, let's say, your 12-volt battery that runs your lights and your horn and stuff like that.
Oh.
There's not enough wattage. There's enough voltage. You can get the voltage right, but there's not enough current, amperage, or you can figure in watts too, any way you want to figure it. It's like losing the jack handle for your car, trying to jack it up, but all you have is a popsicle stick. It's not going to jack up the car. You need to bring that voltage up with enough current to make the batteries respond.
You're really smart.
Not really.
Yeah.
But look what I do to people. Look at how many people I've had murdered
Yeah.
by just showing up.
You so did Marlon ever, even though you said no, did you convince him not to do that? Because I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't pursue that one. But the one he did pursue, which I thought was a good idea, and it was Dr. Craven. I can't remember his first name, and he came up with an idea for deep ocean water cooling. Let me explain the problem. In Tahiti or any island resort area like his island of Tetaroa, you spend a lot of money on electricity because all the diesel fuel to power the power plants, it all comes from far away. There's no drilling for oil in Tahiti. They have no oil there, so they have to get it in large ships. So a kilowatt hour costs about 40 cents or something. If you look at your electric bill, you know that's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So because of that, and 2/3 of that electric bill is used to cool the guests who are paying to be there, the employees, and the food. You got to keep all three things cool. You're going to have a problem. You can do that with the water that's right there, the deep ocean water. They pipe it up from a depth of like 200-300 feet, put it down there, only a degree or two warmer. It's not hot like scalding water. It's going to harm any fish or any sea creatures. And it's like a funicular. It's like a siphon effect. You're not using that much energy to bring it up because the weight and power of the water going down counteracts that of the water coming up. So
what do you mean? He created that?
He and Dr. Craven created that technology. Marlon had the original idea of using deep ocean water to cool, and then they put it into play. They put it into use at Dick Bailey's resort in which the first one they did it was Bora Bora. They put it into use there. I saw it with my own two eyes, and it works. It works great. 2/3 of the electric bill is knocked out because they're cooling the people, the employees, and the food, which you need to keep cool with deep ocean water. No diesel power used to do it. It's a big savings. Huge amount of money.
Why aren't all our coastal communities doing that?
Somebody's got to explain that to me. I don't know why they're not doing it. Huge savings.
That seems like it was, and it exists.
It exists right now.
And you're saying it doesn't cost that much to even build.
No.
Is there like some kind of conspiracy theory with the electric companies and stuff not wanting to lose money?
Maybe there's some pushback from the power companies, but maybe there's some problem with it I'm not aware of that nobody's shared with me, but it seems like a no-brainer. I saw it. It was working. Put my hand on it. It was very, very cold. You know, the water coming from that depth, of course, it's 45.
But you would think here in Southern California, we're right at the coast.
I know.
Why aren't we? And I see pipes going off the coast to fuel
oil rigs,
all the oil rigs.
Ships offloading their crude oil or their refined products, yeah.
So why aren't we doing that?
I don't know. That's something I've wondered about for a while. I'm glad you gave voice to that wonder yourself because I don't get it. I don't know why they're not using that everywhere. If there's a problem about it, I want to learn of it. Someone needs to tell me so we can overcome it.
What is it called?
It's called deep ocean water cooling.
Deep ocean water cooling. We should look that up. Is there an article on it? That's unbelievable. You know, I read about it in your book, but I didn't even think right now, if it's so simple and it knocks that much out of the electricity, is it working? Are there articles on it? And why aren't we doing it in Florida and California and all through Mexico?
And I think it's Dr. Craven, like Wes Craven, Craven. I can't remember
then
his
it makes
first name.
sense. He decided to move away from that and make horror movies.
Canada. It said Canada is doing it?
Maybe they are.
Marine executive.
The Toronto precedent.
Wow. So we're doing it. We're Canadians are doing it, but cold tropical seawater. And but our water off the coast of the Pacific is pretty cold anyways. Much closer.
It's going to be very cold. You get down to a certain depth, 200-300 feet. It's very, very cold. And it's not like power plants, like even nuclear plants can eliminate water that's so hot it's going to harm the sea creatures. I'm told that is not the problem with this because it doesn't come down. You're not cooling a nuclear plant or something, or a natural gas-fired plant or something. You're just cooling, the
environment.
Exactly. The food and the people.
I'm just I wasn't going to discuss this, but this is a conundrum. This is like, because we have, rolling blackouts here in California. Power is a top line issue here, aside from the environment, just that we don't have it. We don't have enough. Right. Our air conditioning is what knocks it out in our hot months, right?
Right.
I don't understand why we haven't, it's the same thing as I asked, but I've been told desalinization, like our shortage of waters, because we have that, is expensive. So I don't know how expensive it is, but I assume that our water, we don't get our fresh water from the ocean because that's too expensive.
There's a new angle on that one, Howie. There's a kind of desalination that works and keeps the salt where it belongs in the ocean. You don't have a big mountain of it at some power plant, a desal plant, I should say, nearby. It's a way to keep that salt in the ocean and not bring it up, and that's a game changer. If you can do that, you're not causing it.
But I heard that wasn't the problem. The problem is it costs a lot of money. So
it does cost a lot, but people are going to have to do something. The first thing they should do is capture every bit of rainwater you can on site, your homes and your commercial buildings and everything. Have it come off your roof and go into a storage tank. That's what I do. I have a 10,000-gallon rainwater tank buried underground. I have a gray water system and all drought-tolerant plants. So all those things can save a tremendous amount of water. Start there, and then if everybody's getting thirsty and can't take a shower and can't clean their vegetables, you're going to have to find water somewhere, and desal might be, a last choice.
Yeah, but climate change. I said to you yesterday. You were aware about it. You were aware of it before we were all made aware of the what is it? Inconvenient truth. You were on it before it was inconvenient. I think it is inconvenient in the sense that unless somebody's experiencing it right now, we don't as a society. We're all about me, I, and now. Rather than kind of planning for the future. You've been there since the 70s. That being said, just the fact that we live, not that this is a major problem, but it is, in most months, for most people, it is really hot. People can't afford to air conditioning. People are dying and getting sick because of heat exhaustion. Right. In New York, it happens all the time, which is another coastal city. If you're saying that just being able to collect this coolant because it's right there floating beside us, no pun intended, but it's water. Yeah. Why aren't we doing it? And desalinization, which we got into, I said, okay, so I asked that question. They say that's expensive. Hopefully somebody finds a way, or science finds a way to do it where it is affordable and we can do it. You're saying this is affordable and it exists. That's actually,
or reprioritizes, even if it's expensive, you still do it because it's important.
But anybody who lives anywhere knows that air conditioning is a huge expense.
Huge. To get a compressor going and the amount of current you need to do that, it's a lot of money too.
People who aren't making enough money are living in these hot apartments, barely staying healthy and being able to breathe. So this is something that we're going to look into. Here, Howie Mandel does stuff. One of the things some of the stuff we're going to do is we're going to solve the power problem. And Ed Begley was
climate crisis.
I think we're on our way to doing it.
I think we are. We're going to solve it together.
He used to, when in St. Elsewhere, he had that electric car, weird looking car.
Yeah, I've had a few weird cars over the years.
This was like a little box. It didn't look like a car. It looked like you built it.
I didn't. It was called a Taylor Dunn. It was a primitive little electric car, and I drove it starting in 1970. I had one of those.
It didn't look done. It didn't look tailored. It didn't look like.
I always got the button. He always has a good joke.
I don't always have a good joke. You're a very funny guy. Joke. It was, but I this is one of the most fascinating people I've ever met.
Speaking of dad jokes,
okay.
I have been having so much fun watching your daughter on TikTok.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're following her.
Yeah.
Hayden, yes, very good. She's a doll.
And she uses you guys as
we're
as great fodder.
Exactly.
Here, let's play a TikTok, the art that Rachel, his wife, bought. That was a funny one. This one got like millions and millions of clicks.
Just bought this new painting. When she bought it, she wasn't wearing her reading glasses. So when she brought it home and hung it up, this was quite a surprise. I honestly
She didn't notice
freaking
that.
love
Can you believe it?
Is it still
Or
hanging
maybe
in
she
your
didn't.
house?
She just won't confess to it.
Is it still in your house?
It's still there, I believe.
Yeah.
She wasn't.
But
gonna
I'm the
take it.
least observant people. There could be a Miro, a Manet next to me right now. I'd have to, Ed, look over to your right. Oh, okay, that's beautiful.
Your wife went out and bought dick pics.
Dick
Yeah,
pic.
exactly.
Oils, though, so it
She's
makes
not
it a
getting
lot more
enough from me,
classy.
so she has to get them from somewhere.
And you met your wife because of a really good friend of mine. You know who?
Maurice LaMarche.
Maurice LaMarche, who's been on this podcast. Maurice LaMarche is the voice of, he was the new Mel Blanc, when Mel
He is.
retired. He's the voice of everything. From,
Everything. Pinky in the Brain.
Pinky in the Brain, the Fruit Loops, Toucan.
That's right.
Everybody. How did he introduced you to your wife?
Yeah, we met on on Robertson near Melrose there, and we went out to lunch. He introduced me to this lovely young lady, Rochelle Carson, and I met her through Maurice, and pretty soon we started dating. We've been together now since '93, so I'm very grateful to Maurice.
You met, and your first wife, Ingrid, who I knew, you met from Tom Waits.
That's correct. I met
love Tom
her
Waits.
at Dantana's with Tom.
Are you still friends with Tom?
I am. I showed him the book. I sent him a copy because he's featured in it as well, of course, and he really liked it.
One of the great artists of all time.
God, do I love him. He's so unique. He's so wonderful. He's such a pure voice. He's just one of the great poets I've ever met.
I got
There
to
he
work.
is.
There he is. I got to work, and that's her too. I think.
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
Ingrid.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. You in the middle. Yeah. And I met him in, I think, 1981. I did a pilot for NBC, and he was in the pilot.
Really?
Yeah, it was a pilot starring Dick Shawn. Remember Dick Shawn?
Very well.
I love.
I love Dick Shawn. He was so great
Yeah, you remember how he died?
on stage in San Diego.
Yes.
And they thought it was a bit.
His son was doing the lights. Yeah, under
Ah.
paper. Yeah.
People laughing. Another wave of laughter because he's really committed to it. He's not getting up. And then pretty soon EMTs come in, right?
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah, he was a great comic. A lot of comics. You're friends with Albert Brooks too, aren't you?
I am. I love Albert.
Did you see the documentary with him?
Shame on me. I'm going to go home and see it today.
That's
I've
a
been
no.
meaning to see it every day, and I forget to do it, and I'm going to see it today because I worship him. I'm a big fan as well as a friend.
He's great.
And Rob as well. Rob and him together. That's a winning combo.
What is your in reading this book? It's like you just figure like, oh my God, that's an amazing. And then you get to the next chapter and you go, oh my God, these are like amazing stories that everybody at any age in every generation has a connection to. And whether it's, the Beatles, or whether it's you remember the Manson family stories, or you remember, Marlon Brando, or I was there then, or I saw, there's a connection to everything. What at this point in your life really, you end the book and it's so poignant in as far as it's my philosophy now, because this is about your past and your journey, but it's about living in the now.
Yes.
Are you able to practice that?
I'm very, very good at it these days. Very good. I like coming here. Not only did I come a day early today, I came like half an hour early. I'm never rushed anymore. I bring the crossword or the jumble or something to do. I get places early. And it's one of the great things about getting older, I find. I'm just never stressed. I know the things that have made me stressed in the past, and I avoid them. And most importantly, when I'm talking to someone like you that I really care so much about, I'm engaged, I'm looking at you and listening to you and just in the moment, which is, I got to confess, beautiful, Howie.
You write in your book that from 2004 you were aware, or you have Parkinson's.
Yes.
I'm just gonna. You don't shake. You don't. I'm ignorant.
That's great.
in
You
as
didn't
far-
see me shaking here today?
Not once. Like you
That's
don't.
very good. Did you notice it? I'm just curious.
I did not.
That's very good. I was shaking occasionally, and I wondered if you picked up on it. But
No.
But I'm out about it now. I'm not keeping it quiet anymore. I was for a while. I thought I'd lose work, but not at all. People are still hiring me. It's wonderful.
Well, you're a great actor, but how are you doing because of your? And this is just my question. You didn't really. I don't think you covered it in the book. You talked about how you discovered it, which is kind of scary, right? You just started getting tremors and
I started
weaknesses.
getting tremors, and my voice was tightening up. I kept trying to loosen up my voice, and my voice would tighten up. So I went to a speech therapist. And after one episode with the speech therapist, she said, can I... Oh, no, she saw on my chart or something, my doctor's number. You got to list your main doctor if you're going to see someone like a speech therapist, and I did. She called me. She said, how come it's not on his chart that you guys sent me that he has Parkinson's? My doctor said.
The speech therapist?
The speech therapist called my doctor and said, why isn't it on his chart? And he says, nobody knows he has, you're saying he has Parkinson's? And then the penny dropped, I should say. Which drops, the penny or the dime? I don't remember. Something.
Whatever you want.
I don't carry change. Can I Venmo you the answer?
And then we all realized that's what was happening in 2004. They thought I had a brain lesion in 2004 because I was having trouble with my balance, and I lost some of my sense of taste and smell, but I wasn't shaking back then, so they didn't think it was Parkinson's. They thought it was something else, and it was not that. It wasn't a brain lesion, so we just forgot about it. It got a little bit better, so I forgot about it. I just kept riding my bike every day up to Mulholland and around Franklin Canyon Lake and eating well, and all that stuff just kept it at bay. Mm-hmm. And then when I discovered it, I upped the ante, and Rochelle found all this stuff. I do all the AMA medicines, carbidopa, levodopa that they tell people to take. I'm doing that, of course, the traditional medicine. And then for extra credit, Rochelle got me doing something called NAD. It's an IV of something you take intravenously. I do something called glutathione. I do hyperbaric chamber, which you've heard of. They give that to the divers after they get the bends, and it's oxygen rich, and it's very good for you anyway. I do stem cells. So all that stuff together has kept me since 2004, and certainly since 2016. That's not bad.
No.
I don't think I'm that still.
You are. You're in good shape, Howie.
But you look. But that's what it's amazing. So that you're talking about 10 years after a diagnosis. From 2004, you got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and you're sitting here. So there must be something. Do you think that extra stuff?
I think the extra stuff
or do you
helps.
think it's just
and also,
genetic?
most important, let me not leave out the main thing Rochelle has had me do. I've always exercised, but now I got to go to the gym every single day, work out vigorously every single day. Ride that recumbent bike for 30 minutes at the highest level I can, and I do that every single day and eat very well. And so I always ate well and I always exercised, but I upped the ante there. That's probably the best thing you can do for Parkinson's.
Are you a vegan?
I'm a vegan now. I'm a mostly vegan.
Mostly vegan.
Several of the doctors I wanted to work with said, if you want to work with me, you got to take a little bit of this and that. That's not purely vegan. So I'm 98% vegan.
The medications are not vegan.
Yeah, exactly. And a few other things. I occasionally have some dairy. Used to make a big fuss. Somebody put eggs or butter in a cake. Oh, no, I can't have that. I made more bad vibes than I was doing to helping myself, supposedly.
Why did you become vegan originally? Was it?
It was my health and the animals. I thought, I stopped eating meat in 1970. I haven't had beef or veal or lamb or pork since then.
Wow.
But then for a while I ate some chicken from 78 to 92. But 92 I became a vegan. But now I'm not a pure vegan, but I'm 98% there.
You used to be such a, even before it became fashionable. You were this oddity of being vegan. Now you hear about it, and maybe that's just social media.
Talk about being ahead of the curve. You with your supposed OCD, you were so smart with the pandemic, pal. You were way ahead of all of us.
Okay, all right. My mental health was actually psychic. But what I'm saying is you were ahead of the curve. People used to, and we read about it in the book, you made before the Oscars, all the Oscar nominees, you would make them a vegan deal. They'd come to your house, right?
I did.
There's a great picture in your book.
All the ones that were available, most of them came by to my house. I made them a meal. And
who was it? It was De Niro and...
Bob was there. Alan Arkin was there. Daniel Day-Lewis was there.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman. That's Tommy Lee Jones, a little bit blurred. He was in Motions, the only picture I have. Joaquin Phoenix, the great Joaquin Phoenix was there. He's a vegan. Very dedicated.
Wow.
And that was a wonderful meal, a wonderful time.
That's amazing. And they just come over and eat. It's amazing your connections to everybody. You're just connected to everybody at every level. This is an amazing picture. I'm putting up this picture. You were a pallbearer for Cesar Chavez.
He was a dear friend of mine. He was head of the United Farm Workers, for those who don't know. Pardon me. He was the head of the United Farm Workers, and he helped so many people that continued to do what he and his wife did when they were young, which is to pick fruit and vegetables in the fields. And so it's very hard work, and he revered that and celebrated that and helped them with that. They didn't have toilets at that point in the fields for people. They didn't have water for people in the fields at that point. He got them all that, a health plan, and he died in 1993, so I had the extreme sadness and honor of carrying his coffin through the streets of Delano. put him to rest. And then I wrote a play about his life that got produced a few times called Caesar and Reuben, and it was a wonderful, joyous thing that the family allowed me to do.
You've also had like tough times yourselves. You got there's a talk of in the book you got shit kicked out of you.
I did.
And sent to a hospital.
Yeah, I had a collapsed lung and I was
stabbed.
I was stabbed. Yeah, I was stabbed a few times.
Was it a gang?
It was
a few times.
Yeah, I had
like
a few stab
people,
wounds.
Right?
What's that?
It was like a dozen people that.
Yeah,
jumped
probably
you.
about 10 to 12 people. Yeah, I'm probably embellished over time, but it was a big enough crowd. It was a bad experience in every possible way. I was going down to Gardena to gamble. My gambling addiction I talk about in the book too. So there's another thing my addictions have cost me and put me in a bad situation. Not to excuse what people did to me, but I put myself in a dangerous situation.
Your fault. It was your fault.
Yeah. I was standing at Western Imperial because I took the bus down there and the guy suddenly says, end of the line. I said, no, I'm going further down Western Avenue. He said, no, this is Gardena now. That's why they have gambling clubs here. It's a separate city, young man. You got to get the Gardena bus system. I said, okay. There's broad daylight there's a Shell station right there. I'll stand and wait for the bus. But then a crowd of about probably 8 to 10 people. Now that I think about it, I was probably embellishing if I said 12. And
I'm embellishing.
They came towards me, and here's why I didn't. My friend who was with me ran to get away from it, and only had to handle 1 or 2 people. I stayed there. Do you know why I stayed there and didn't?
No.
I didn't want him to think I was uptight. I literally didn't want him to think I was, uptight. So I just stayed there, and suddenly you just mowed down, and a crowd.
So he stabs you, and you go, oh, thank you. I'm okay with this. I'm cool with this. I don't want you to think I'm uptight.
So you don't know what the motivation behind it was. There's rumors now that, like, I read online when I was looking stuff up that it was 25 people, and it was like oil protesters or whatever that came and stabbed you and jumped you. I don't know. Something
they wouldn't
like
know
that.
who he was.
No, it was just kids from a local school there, like high school kids that came, and because 2 teachers from that same high school stopped, and then they all scattered because I guess they figured those teachers might know them. But it was about 8 to 10 kids, young kids that just kind of mowed me and my friend down. But my friend,
did they get caught?
They caught people that they claimed did it, but I couldn't ID them positively because I didn't want innocent kids to go to jail. So I couldn't say, yeah, it was definitely them. I didn't know who it was. It happened so quickly, I didn't take much of it in. Yeah. I was down and I had a collapsed lung. I thought I had a broken rib because I was having trouble breathing. I couldn't get any air in, but they can fix that. They take you to the hospital and they fix your lung.
But yet you were stabbed a couple of times.
I had a couple stab wounds and a collapsed lung, yeah.
You had a couple of bad accidents.
I did. A year later, that same day, a guy ran a red light in a 67 Olds, and I was driving the fuel-efficient vehicle of that time, which was a Carmen Ghia, and he T-boned me, and so I had a fractured femur on the same day as the stab. What's that?
February 17th, right? Isn't that your lucky day?
Amazing. Jesus Christ, Howie. You're a very impressive man. February 17th is right. Wow.
Well, you're good with numbers, too.
I am pretty good. I used to be better. Now slowing down a little bit at my age, and probably the Parkinson slows your brain down a little bit too.
I've been trying to practice this trick that you mentioned in the book. Where
the 25511?
Yes. Talk about that Harry Nilsson gave you, right?
He gave me this trick back in 1978.
Watch this, people. Listen to this, because you are going to be the favorite of any party you go to. Go ahead.
Okay, here's the new numbers for the months of the year. Normally you would think January is 1 and February is 2 and March is 3, right?
Right.
Now the new numbers 1 through 12 are now this: 2551 36 140250. Memorize those any way you want. The way I started, I have a quarter sitting on a deck of cards because I lost one of the cards. Images help. 25, I left a quarter because there's only 51 cards left in the deck of cards. 255136. Remember that number any way you wish. It's a normal waist for people my age. It's 36. 1402 is the famous IBM computer mainframe. 1402, Hawaii 50, 5050, whatever. 2551 36 140250. Let's do January right now because it's January. Mm-hmm. And we'll
remember that number. Play this back if you're watching it, and remember this number.
Can I write it down?
Yeah, write down the number.
This is a tricky year now. Bear with me, folks.
I will. Say the number one more time. Say the number one more time. Listen to this. This is going to be worth it.
2551.
Are you marking it down?
36 140250. Those are the new numbers for the months. Now, the tricky part of this is to know the number for the year. And this year is particularly tricky because it's a leap year. So the number up to and including the 29th of February is a 5. 5 fingers on my right hand, 5. From the 1st of March on, it's a 6. They go forward. Last year, the whole year, if you want to do last year, it's a 4. Let's do it. If somebody's listening right now, you know I have no calendar in front of me, so you know I'm not making up. Let's do March 3rd of last year.
Give him what's your birthday, Kyle?
August 29th.
Oh, wait, what year? I'm not sure I can do past years as well as I used to. What year?
No, but last year, August 29th.
Oh, last year, sorry.
You're saying.
Last year, August 29th. So August, just a second, 29. I'm a little slow. I say it's a 5. It's a Friday.
So go look at August 29th from last year. Was your birthday on a Friday?
Oh, wait. 4.
Wait.
No. Hold on. Just a sec. 4, 8 and 29. Just a second. 29 and 8. 29 and 8 is 37. And 37. It's a Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tuesday.
You see, that's what happens. I started off on the wrong foot there. I was doing whatever I was doing. I was doing a different month because my brain is
so
slowed down.
Explain to them what you're doing. But this is a great trick where if you memorize that
and you're not elderly and your brain works, but it's basically
you'll be able to tell
2551.
well, let me tell them what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Anybody can give you any date from any year. It's a little tricky during leap years, and you can tell them what day of the week that was. What day of the week that you were born, what day of the week, every calendar based on this. And how do you do that?
The tricky part is knowing the number for the years. It's easy to know this year because it's a 5 and a 6. That's relatively easy. Last year was a 4 all year. To know that 1981 was a 1, not because there's a 1 after the 8, but it just happens to be a 1, that you do the same thing. You take the number for the year, which is a 1 for 1981. You add it to this year, which is a 5 and a 6. You add it to 2, which is January. So 2 and 1 is 3. And then you pick whatever day. January 7th would be 10, so it would be the remainder. Divide 7 into the remainder of 3, it would be a Wednesday. 2551, January is a 2 from the 2551 thing. And I happen to know that 1981 is a 1, so 2 and 1 is 3. And then the number, whatever date you want, the 7th is a 10, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You divide 7 into it, you don't care how many times it goes. I know 1949 is a 3 because it's the year I was born. I know
how do you determine what the year number is?
That's a harder formula that idiot savant, people can do. I don't know how to do that, but I just kind of memorized a lot of them. I know 1930. I know a bunch of different. Like I know 1930 is a 0, so that makes 1919.
It's in the book though. In the book,
yes.
Harry Nelson taught you this, and you used this formula.
He only did the year that we were in, or the year before, the year after. To impress him, I learned other years. I did his birthday, and I could do World War II years and what have you. I used to know all of them.
But this is how you met ladies.
Exactly.
So you can go, where's your birthday? Let me tell you, your birthday was, and then you used to say, was it Tuesday last year? And they go, how do you do that? And it's a great little party trick.
You're not supposed to tell the trick, though. You should just be like, I just know.
This is just for the listeners.
I did just what you're saying, Jackie. I did, I'll just tell you it's your birthday. My first wife, Ingrid, she was born in 1947 because the number for that year is a 0. Mm-hmm. So I asked, what's your birthday? She said October 1402. So 0 and 2 is 2. And so she said it's the 4th. Oh, no, she's the 10th. 2 and 12. It's the 5th day of the week. You divide 7 into it. 5 is left over. She's born on a Friday.
And she went and checked it, and you can tell. But if you listen to it,
and
Harry
she says,
Nelson,
I'm marrying you.
Now you can do it on your phone. It's very easy to do on your phone, of course. But in the old days, you could look in a phone book, and they would have something called a perpetual calendar. They had all the calendars for the 20th century. So you could look up and go, my God, he's right. It was that date.
Harry taught you this? Harry Nelson?
Yeah, he taught me how to do it in 1978. And so I learned that year. And then from there, what was that? 1978, that was a 0 and a 1, I think, for 1978, the year he told me. I don't know.
But
you
it's
could pretty
kind of
much be saying anything and you wouldn't know. You could check it. You checked it.
Did you check it?
Say the date again.
No, but your birthday was right.
Your birthday was right.
That was right.
Yeah.
Do you understand what he's saying?
A little.
But you
It's a
wouldn't be
little-
able to do
the
it.
thing with the
You'd
number,
have
I'm
to
making it.
practice.
I'm glossing over
Yeah.
how hard it is to do the year. To know the year, to do this year is easy. Many people
Let's
will
do
learn
this
that.
year.
To do this year is a 5 and a 6 because it's a leap year. There's 2 numbers for this year because of the leap year. So anybody can do the thing. If you learn the 2-5-5-1-3-6, 1-4-0-2-5-0, you can do this year I want to go skiing on the weekend. What day? So we'll go on September 3rd. So 3 with the 6 is 9, and September is a 0, so it's a Tuesday. So that's not the good day to go skiing. We want to go on the weekend. You move your day.
But
So
if
it
you
has a
really want to
practical-
impress someone, they can go and memorize what like the last 10 years are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I memorized a lot of them.
What is this called?
A Japanese guy invented it, and Harry told me not to write it down because there was a curse on it if you wrote it down. I didn't believe that part, so I wrote it down.
Oh, and that's why there's been so much
And
death.
is that guy?
Why didn't I put it together? Thank you. I knew I'd solve many things here on this show.
And that guy died, the Japanese guy.
I think he did.
He did. What day did he die? August 3rd, 1981. It is a good trick, though. If you read it in the book, I'm not doing it justice.
You're doing it plenty of justice. It's pretty arcane and weird.
You know who else wrote that down?
Who?
The name of that? The guy that invented the Segway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that true?
You know, he died.
I didn't know that.
You know,
By
the
going
Segway.
off a cliff on a
He-
Segway.
No.
Yeah. He drove it off a cliff.
I know Steve Wozniak. He used to ride one around all the time. Maybe
He
He
didn't
didn't
invent it.
He's still alive.
he's still with us, so he's having better luck.
But look what happened to his partner.
To who?
Well, we just taking a moment of silence. Steve Jobs. To Steve Jobs.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay, just a moment of silence for Steve Jobs. What? What?
Why?
Because he died.
We've talked about so many people that died.
No, but we haven't honored anybody yet.
Why can't we just honor them all together?
Okay.
I think we should because I found myself laughing about several people who are deceased. So let's give honor to all the people we mentioned.
Who did you
who are
laugh at dying?
Well, we're laughing. I was probably laughing talking about some of the murders because you were being very funny. But now
That's not. It's not funny. Murder's not funny.
you're right.
Murder's not funny. But there's been a lot of murders.
A lot of murders, and the way in which I've involved myself is probably, if not humorous, weird.
You've been involved in a lot, and it's to the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It. I love the title.
Thank you, Howie.
How'd you come up with the title?
A guy actually said it that I know. Dick Stahl was an actor, and he actually said it. All his planes were late, and the boat got stopped because of monsoon season. So he got there late to this ashram, and he said to the cab driver when he ran up the dock, to the Temple of Tranquility and step on it. And I thought that was a very funny thing to say.
It really is. It really is. And it's a very interesting read, a great read, but you're always an interesting, just to spend time with you. There's always laughs and knowledge and like every possible thing. There's nobody that's more colorful and wonderful and than you to hang with, even in real life. Well, I
feel
don't
the
see
same
you.
about you,
I don't see you a lot. We're
wanna
both
fix
really
that.
busy. Let's fix that. And do you have any questions?
I asked all my questions. Is there anyone else like that has been murdered?
Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Is there any other?
I
murder?
was asked.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't-
Anyone else murdered that you know of?
I'll get back to you. I'm going to have to do a search. Search under my manuscript.
Or coming up.
I'll search
Or coming
for,
up,
Any
Yeah.
murders coming up?
I think everybody's safe at this point.
Okay.
Jeremy, do you have a question?
Can I get a picture of you with this big phone we have back here?
Yes.
Afterwards? Okay.
And we'll have a chumash ceremony. We'll light some sage and we'll purify this area so there won't be any bad vibes.
I love the
No bad
idea.
vibes.
Anyway, Ed Begley Jr. What should we plug? We'll plug the book,
Plug the book and
We
Young
did.
Sheldon. I'm on that wonderful show.
To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It, Young Sheldon. And that kid is like, he's
Super
not
smart.
acting.
No, he's not acting at all. He's super smart, super nice. He has no like ego thing about being the star of a show. He's amazing. He'll just break into song in Russian on the set. Just start singing in one of the many languages he knows. He's unbelievable. Sweet kid.
Thank God he got a show. I think as a young person, if you break into Russian song, it's going to be hard to meet people.
Probably.
Just
Probably.
saying.
He's got a great recipe for borscht.
And my son is right here. Alex, do you have a question?
Nothing? No animal questions or
Say
anything?
it into the mic. No? No questions?
It's good to see Alex again. It's good
Isn't
to
it?
see Jackie again.
You saw these people before they were born.
I did.
I was on
You
your
saw
show.
me before I was born.
Well, because in
Your mother's
mother
stomach, in
showed
utero.
up and
I saw you
pregnant.
in utero.
And then I used to bring you to rap parties.
Yeah. Good story.
Okay, that's how do we end this? How do we end this?
Should I go back to sleep like I did last night so I didn't miss this appointment?
Why don't you lie down?
Okay.
I really had to pee too.
You go pee. He lies down. Go ahead. You pee.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
You lie down. Can you?
Can they pipe some kind of white noise or something into the cans?
Yeah, or just can you just lower the lights? Do you have control of the lights? Is there any way? Can you just be when you go out? Can you just hit that? Those are off. You can throw those off. That's good. You turn this off. Can you turn this off? Thank you.